The Senators win Game 4 here, 3-2, an incredible overtime win. And Ian, we're joined by Sportsnet's Ian Mendes. Once again, Kyle Turris is the overtime winner in a Game 4.
Yeah, just like last year against the New York Rangers, but the circumstances are a little bit different in that last year, Turris' goal really brought the Sens back into that series. They were trailing 2-1. Tonight, you almost feel like Turris' overtime goal gives them a stranglehold on this series, up 3-1. But I think if you had asked anybody halfway through the third period, are the Ottawa Senators going to come back and win this game? Nobody would have said they were. They didn't. They looked lifeless at times. They looked like they weren't physically engaged. They certainly didn't seem like they had any scoring touch around the net. And then all of a sudden, inexplicably, the ball starts rolling in their favor. Or the hockey gods start waking up and paying attention to Ottawa, because it just was night and day in the final 7-8 minutes of the third period, and obviously early in the overtime.
I guess that's why they call them the pesky Senators. They just seem to find a way to win often when they're maybe not the best team on the ice.
Yeah, and that was their mantra, a lot of times last year, and I thought it got away from them this year. That at times down the stretch, they were losing a lot of games. Especially we went on the road with them and did some games in early April. Like they lost at Buffalo, and they lost at Florida, and they lost at Tampa, and they lost at Boston. And these were all games that were tight in the third period, and they were blowing the leads or just watching the points evaporate. In this series, we've now seen two instances of the classic pesky Sens, where in Game 1, they're trailing, heading into the third period. What do? They score 3 goals. And then obviously again tonight. And I think, to me, the biggest stat that you can look at in this series, the thing that really you can take out of this, is the third period, where the Ottawa Senators in this series have scored 9 goals on Carey Price. Craig Anderson has given up a grand total of 0. And that, to me, is goaltending when you need it, from Craig Anderson, versus just the inability of Carey Price to stop the pucks when it matters most.
And a big moment in this game, of course, Mika Zibanejad's goal. A little bit of controversy, perhaps. Was it a kick-in? Was it a redirect? Your thoughts, Ian?
My initial thought was that shouldn't have been a goal. And I look at the replay, and I still don't think it should have been a goal. Now, obviously, my opinion doesn't matter. It's the people back in Toronto that make that call in the video review room. And I just don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of goals called back for less. And I thought, by the overhead view, it sure as heck looked to me like Mika Zibanejad kicked the puck. Looked like a distinct kick motion to me. And the other thing that I really took away from that is, watch the replay. Watch Mika Zibanejad's reaction. Doesn't look like a guy that just scored a massive goal in the playoff game. Looks like a guy that kind of like a half-hearted celebration. It's not the fist pump. Zibanejad always kisses his hand, looks up to this guy. You didn't see any of that. And to me, that sometimes is the biggest indictment of a guy that knows that he's maybe got away with one, is the celebration wasn't definitive.
And Carey Price going down in this game, lower body injury. We don't know much more than that. How does that change the complexion of this series if he is out in Game 5?
Well, there was a segment of Montreal Canadiens fans that believed that Peter Budaj and not Carey Price was their best option. So for that segment of fans, here you go. Here's your opportunity. You thought Carey Price couldn't get the job done and Peter Budaj was the guy? Well, maybe we're going to find out. Now, we don't know the extent of Carey Price's injury. It's just lower body. But you have to believe that if it's something that is significant enough to keep him out of an overtime in a game where his team, it was essentially a must-win, that to me is disconcerting. And now you have to turn to Peter Budaj, who, off the top of my head, maybe he played a playoff game or two with the Colorado Avalanche. I don't know. But realistically speaking, the Montreal Canadiens without Carey Price, that could be a significant loss to them.
And the Senators now with a 3-1 series lead seem to be in the driver's seat. What can we expect going into Game 5?
Well, I guess the one thing is expect the unexpected. Game 1, you had the Greiba hit. Game 2, you had the Canadiens playing a nice, controlled, physical game. Game 3, you had all hell break loose. Game 4, you had what appeared to be a nice, controlled Montreal Canadiens win until everything went sideways, and then Kyle Turris scores the overtime winner. I don't know anymore. And anybody who tells you that they know what's going to happen in Game 5 is lying through their teeth. So that's one of the fun things about the Stanley Cup playoffs, is when teams meet each other so many times in a row, you never know what's going to happen. Even though you think you might know what the script is, I really have no idea what to expect Thursday at the Bell Center.
Erik Karlsson looked like he struggled a little bit tonight. How are you assessing his game right now?
Well, I always felt like even when he first came back that night in Washington and I was there, I thought, boy, he looks at about 70%. And I still think that. Still think he's playing at 70%. Now, the one thing we've all learned is 70% of Erik Karlsson is better than most defensemen in the National Hockey League. And he's not taking the puck up the ice with the type of confidence. And to me, when Eric's playing his best, it's the transition game. It's taking the puck and moving it. And we're not seeing that. He's turning the puck over a little bit, but that's fine. like I said, 70% of Erik Karlsson is still better than most options that they have. The power play has struggled, but just even the threat of Erik Karlsson can open up room for Sergei Gonchar, for Daniel Alfredsson, and some of the other guys.
At Sportsnet, Ian Mendes, and we head to Game 5. The Senators leading this series 3-1.